What's up? Welcome to another edition of Monday's Workbench. This past weekend we ran the famous Stony Lonesome race. Actually, I didn't race, Garrett did. I had to work, and I was able enough to get there to see him take off. He ran the open sea. It started raining right before I got there and turned into a pretty good rain mud fest. But they did a good job of laying the track out. Garrett ended up second in the open sea class, and anyway, we're talking about swing arm maintenance and linkage bearings maintenance. Got the 125 here. This is a 2003, and I noticed the rear suspension wasn't moving quite like I expected to. I've had a couple of questions. Corey Bryant asked about what's the process for lubing and maintaining the swing arm and the linkage. Also, Mario 177 asked the same similar about greasing the linkage, the front end stem bearing, and how often we service those. Well, on our new bikes, when we get them, we take them down and all the way down to the frame and re-grease them. I don't know why, but it seems like the manufacturers are pretty stingy on the grease. So we go ahead and grease everything up. We take the linkages apart, you know, they're brand new, haven't even ridden them, and just put my own grease on there and just add more to it. Then I keep an eye on them. I try to do 25 hours. They may go longer, but if I lubed it up before we use the bike a whole lot, the bearings seem to last a lot longer. On this particular bike we bought used, and I did take the swing arm, linkage, and all that stuff apart when we bought it 2 years ago, and they were close to being needed replaced. They definitely needed to be serviced, but anyway, I greased them, put them back in there. I bought a linkage kit and never got around to it, but every once in a while we get it out and ride it, and I notice, man, it's really not moving like I think it should. So if your swing arm, linkage, bearings, all that stuff are good, take them apart right now, lube them, so that you don't have to replace the bearings like I'm about to. It's quite a pain in the butt, but Moose makes a good kit. We've got a nice kit here. Stacy's going to bring the camera in closer because we're going to talk more about specific stuff here. Thank you, darling. So we've got a swing arm linkage kit from Moose, one of our great sponsors. This kit has everything to service this. Now, as you can see, I've already taken this bike apart. I started out, I took the rear wheel off. I went ahead and took the brake assembly completely off. I took the chain off and the chain guide off of the front right underneath this swing arm. I took the swing arm off, and I did not order the swing arm linkages, so I'm just going to lube them up and put them back in, but they definitely need to be replaced. As far as the linkage goes, like I said, I got the kit, so I'm going to show you how I press the bearings out and reinstall them. As you can see, this stuff's pretty dirty and nasty. I've actually lost a couple of the pieces, but anyway, I try to keep everything in order. You know, here's the swing arm, here's my linkage, and my lower shock mount. This kit comes with the bearings to do everything here, including the lower shock mount. So what I'm going to demonstrate how I do is one of these here. Now, I think these two are actually the same bearing, but this one is completely frozen. I mean, this one's still, it's very bad, but we'll take care of this one real quick. So I've got me a pick. I'm not going to reuse these seals, so I'm just going to pop these guys out. And like I said, I've taken these apart when I got it, and then I greased them all up to make them last as long as they have. But anyway, using a screwdriver here, getting these popped out of there. Okay, now I'm gonna attempt to press these out. So what I've done is I've got a piece of all thread. This is I think it's 11/16 standard. I think this might be a 1/4 inch. I'm not sure what size I'll all thread this. I've had this forever, and it's this length for the reason of I also use it to press out the swing arm bearings with it too. So, but I put a little tape on there, kind of protect it. It's really not that important to, this is pretty coarse thread. So anyway, I find a socket that's going to be bigger, and it's going to be able to catch those bearings. Now there's 2 of them in there, so I'm going to press them both out the same side at the same time. So got me a washer and nut, slide on a socket. This is a 27, so it's bigger than the actual bearing itself. So put that on, slide that on, and now I found a 18, and it fits just perfect in there to where I can press those 2 out. Now before I take off on that journey, go ahead and get some Lucas Toolbox Buddy squirt in there, just a little help. And now remember, this is cast aluminum, so it is, it can flex a little, and hopefully it ain't gonna break on us. But when I start turning this, I can feel the bearing moving in there. So I put that in there wrong. So this goes in, and then it lines up right on top of that bearing. And now I've got this. So I got my vise tight. The one step that I would probably do, I wanted to show you how dirty this was, is I'd probably just clean all this up. I'd use a nylon bristle and some Toolbox Buddy to clean all this up, but we're gonna skip that right now, and I'm gonna show you how to take these out. So I've got 2 11/16 inch wrenches, and I'll just start turning this. Now, trying to get everything perfectly in line that I can, and then I just start turning. Hopefully, yep, I feel it moving there. So, pressing this bearing out. And this one is pretty hard because I'm pressing 2 bearings at the same time. Okay, I can feel it. So once you've done this, you start to understand maybe I ought to keep a closer eye on it. This is a pain in the butt. And you're like, you know what? I'm gonna lube up my bearings a little more frequent. The type of racing we do is really tough on them. And I'm gonna back off and take a look. Yeah, the type of racing we do is really tough on these bikes, so I'm just taking a look and checking my progress. Okay. As you can see, I'm starting to press that bearing out, and there's 2 of them in there. So before you get too carried away, just go ahead and take a quick look. Make sure it's going, because you can't see it with that socket. So I'm just going to keep going here. Now, installing this back on there, I'm going to do the same thing. And then you'll be able to see the wear marks or the places where the bearings are supposed to go once I get it cleaned up. I think there's probably a kit specifically for this. I think I even bought one time, but this seems to be the best. And obviously, this is probably one of the harder bearings to do because of the two that are double stacked in there. It's getting a little easier. And I'm going off a gauge here, just feeling the tension. If it gets real tight, I know I probably have either maxed out the space over here. Yep, so it's completely tight. We'll see what that reveals. I may have gotten both of them out. Maybe just one, I don't know, we'll see. Okay, I've got one bearing out. So I've got just a little bit more to go here. I think I've got enough room here to get this one done. So like I said, once you've done this and you realize, man, I could have greased this whole thing up in 10 minutes, but now I'm going to be spending an hour or so messing around with this. If I just greased them up real good before and, you know, set an alarm in your maintenance as far as like, we're checking valves at 20, 30 hours. Why not do your swing arm then too? Take you 15, 20, 30 minutes instead of having to do all this. So here's the other bearing. It's pressed out. That bearing was pretty much shot. And then if you take a look at this, kind of clean it up a little bit, you can kind of see where the bearings were, and there's a little line in there about where they need to be lined up. So what I'm going to do is spend a little effort here, get this cleaned up, and we'll put the other ones in there. The kit that this comes with, like I said, has all the bearings to do all of these, and we're going to tear into it and see which one it is. So I know that there's a couple of different sizes in here. They're all reading the same part number, so I'm pretty confident that this is the one that I want. So I think all three of these are the actual right bearing size. So I'm going to take this one, still in the little package there, clean up my old one just to compare it. And yep, that's it. Okay, so what we'll do now, quickly clean up our nasty here. And we'll put this one back on. So now I know, just like I said, I'm going to put some grease in this. Now these are needle bearings, so they're all packed in there, and they could come out. So to help with that, even though this ain't my final greasing, I'm going to pack this full of grease. And this will help keep those bearings in there. And it's probably going to get messy, but that's all right. I'll do my best not to get, but I've learned over the years a little bit of grease will help keep those needle bearings in. Those aren't as bad as some that I've worked with as far as falling out. So, okay, now I've got this lined up, and I think I'm going to be all right with room. I may have trouble with room, but so each bearing has a flat side and a tapered side. Whichever side you're driving in, you need to utilize that tapered side. So I got the taper side in there. I'm probably going to run out of room on this. So this needs to be peeled off. We're going to utilize this. Garrett's mowing. I think I got it now. Okay, so now I've got this back. I'm going to utilize just the washer for now. And then this is important to keep everything straight. Once this bearing starts to go in, you'll be able to make sure you've got everything lined up correctly. So I'm just keeping an eye on it. And this is a pretty critical part, making sure it goes in good. So you can see it going in. So now I've got it flush. If you remember, there has to be a seal that goes in there. So back with our 18. Hopefully I've got enough room. I think I do. Here, Garrett mowing. It was prom this weekend too. Boy, that was exciting. Chris and Dalton, the Keys, all of our family, grandma and grandpas, they got to come and see the kids. It was exciting. So I'm just keeping an eye on it. I know about how far it needs to go in order to make room for that seal. So I don't want to go too far. And that appears to be about right. Now, I could find the seal here. I think this one's it. No. This one's it. So the seal will go right in there. Might need a little help with the hammer, or maybe a back of a screwdriver. Well, that side slid down a little farther than I wanted. So we know the 18's a pretty good fit. Get the old trusty Cook hammer out. Okay. Okay, got the new seal in. Still need to utilize the same method and press that other bearing in on this side. So I've got quite a bit more to do. Once, like I said, you've done this, it's not really that complicated. It takes quite a bit of effort, but you can prevent that by lubing up your parts. This same process I would do for the swing arm and the rest of the bearings that I have. Keeping all this stuff clean the best you can, and keeping grease in there is your best defense on, you know, wasting time doing this. And you know as well as I know that there's plenty of good shops out there that would do it for you, but if you can prevent that shop bill by throwing a little grease on there, being preventative, proactive with this, keep you a lot more smoother on the track. And yeah, I'm not looking forward to the rest of this. I think I read one time they interviewed Chris Bach in one of the magazines, and they were interviewing a lot of other riders. What's the worst thing that you want to do to manage your bike? And I'm pretty sure Chris Bach said swing arm, linkage bearings, all that good stuff. So yeah, it's not very much fun. But anyway, I hope this helped you. There's other ways to do it. This is the way we've done it. There's probably better ways to do it, quicker ways, but this is what's worked for us here at Monday Racing. So thanks a lot for your support. Like, share, comment, send in your comments of what else you would like to see. We thank everybody that supports us, and our sponsors, keeps us going, and show us your tips.